Good day, everybody, and welcome to this Engage Employee webinar together with our partners at x2o Media. And today we're going to be talking about engaging the enterprise with unified visual communications. My name is Steve Hurst, and I'm the Editorial Director of Engage Employee, and I'm more than delighted to be joined today by Mansour Breck, who is President of x2o Media. I understand, good morning to you, Mansour. I'm saying good morning because I think you're in Montreal, where it's still the morning, whereas in London here it's 2 p.m. in the afternoon.
Yes, hi Steve. Good afternoon to you. Yes, it is still morning here.
And how was the weather in Montreal today?
The sun is trying to break through the clouds, and hopefully it will.
I hope so. We live in hope. Well, welcome today, Mansour. Really looking forward to your presentation. I think you're presenting on an extremely important area to do with engaging our people. I know that some of the stats you're going to reveal during your presentation show just the levels of disengagement that employees currently have. So, looking forward to your presentation. I do also really encourage our delegates today to ask questions. There is a simple ask the question button on your screens, and I can guarantee to you today that any questions we don't get the chance to answer during the 45 minutes of this webinar will be answered afterwards. So none of your questions will be wasted. So keep those questions coming. Now Mansour is going to be talking today about four key learning pillars: how the nature of work is changing, the new generation of workers, the information and data explosion, and how employee engagement increases with improved visualization and collaboration. I'm not going to say any more now because I really am looking forward to Mansour presenting, and so without further ado, Mansour, I'll hand the floor over to you.
Thank you, Steve. And hi, everyone. Thank you for attending today. I'm very happy to have you on this webinar. Yes, so engaging the enterprise. It's very topical today. I think as with enterprises growing larger and larger, employees spread around the world, working from home, on the road, and pressures rising for results. It becomes critical that we engage with those employees, because having an engaged workforce translates directly to improved results. So let's get started. The thing that prompted all this is that the nature of work is changing. We have an information explosion, everything from enterprise databases to intranet, extranet sites, email, training videos and program, webcasts, newsletters. Employees are just inundated with information from all directions, and we need a way to control it. We also have a distributed workforce. Companies are growing larger, as I mentioned, multiple sites and facilities, people working from home, people on the road, either sales or visiting customers or installations or what have you. There's online communities and social networks to deal with, so that distributed workforce.
All that's up to workplace revolution, isn't it, really, Mansour, I would say?
It really does. I think that the workforce and the workplace today is probably has very little resemblance to the workforce of 20, 30 years ago.
Absolutely.
And of course, with this new workforce comes a new generation of workers, and that new generation of workers come with new expectations. They've grown up with in an environment where they're always online. They have instant access to all information, whether it be social media or Wikipedia or any other piece of information. Everything was always at their fingertips. And then when they come to work, it's a shock when they don't have that same level of access to everything as they've grown up with getting used to that. So it's on the enterprise to really provide those employees with that same level of engagement and interaction, because poor communication is a major source of employee dissatisfaction and even more so today with dreaded millennials, if you will. But it's important that you cut through the noise and delivering information that's up to date, that's actionable, that will allow your employees to interact and engage with, and this will build a competitive advantage for your company. And as this is all going on, we're actually right in the middle of an enterprise megatrend, which is called digitalization. And it's defined as migrating analog approaches to customers, products, services, and operating models to an always-on, real-time, and information-rich marketplace.
Absolutely.
And that covers everything from business intelligence to big data to social collaboration.
Yeah, we actually ran our first digital workplace conference in January this year, Mansour, which was very well received.
Yeah, absolutely. That digital workplace is something that everyone needs to transform to or die. So next we're going to look at some interesting statistics that we've run across that are really quite eye-opening. The first one is that more than 50% of employees do not open emails regarding internal communications. They simply don't even look at them. And is it that email is not well suited to distribute critical and must-read information and to draw employees' undivided attention? I think quite likely yes. I think our inboxes are all way too full, way too many emails that we get every day, and it's so easy to disregard a lot of those internal communication emails along with all the spam and everything else that we receive.
Or simply miss them. Yeah.
Exactly, or simply miss them. It's a very good point. Then we found that only 13% of employees reported making use of their corporate intranets on a daily basis, and 31% said they never do.
Wow, that's nearly 1 in 3. Yeah.
Yeah, that's shocking. 1 in 3 never go to the internet, especially when you see how much companies invest in that intranet. It's quite shocking that 1 in 3 people never go there.
It's just all falling into fallow ground, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, either the existing communication and collaboration platforms, Office, SharePoint, email, they're either difficult to use or they exhibit some shortcomings because it's hard to ignore those statistics. So something is wrong. And a consequence of all that is that only 13% of employees worldwide consider themselves engaged at work.
That's less than 1 in 7.
Yeah.
Shocking. Yeah.
1 in 7. Right. And why should we care? Well, engaged employees translates directly to improved results. Engaged employees perform better, and consequently, the company will perform better and have better results.
And then they'll give better service to their customers. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it just everything ties back into
it's a virtuous circle. Yeah.
It is. So it's critical that enterprises really focus on getting those employees on board, engaging them fully, and anything we can do to help that is of vital importance.
Agreed.
And then, if we look at the executive management of those companies, we find that more than 50% of them don't combine the information from different data sources to create a comprehensive business overview. And the reason for that is that we have corporate data that's trapped in different information silos defined by legacy IT, whether it be finance, operations, customers, markets. You end up with a lot of great systems at a company, and whether you have SAP for your ERP and you're using Salesforce for your CRM and your sales, internal databases for manufacturing information. Each one of those systems is great and lets you look at data, but they're all in individual silos, and it's really important that you can get a comprehensive overview of the whole operations of the company.
I guess that's where the phrase "drowning in data" comes from.
Absolutely, exactly, because those decision makers, they either sink or swim in that sea of information. So So basically, effective and engaging communication is at the center of today's enterprise, we believe. And to unlock maximum results, the existing communication productivity tools can benefit from an overarching sort of visual communications layer. Imagine an enterprise where you can reach employees in every aspect of the company, everything from your contact center to your manufacturing operations, to your customers, to your senior management, and having a connected enterprise where all those different avenues are available to you as a communication channel really changes the equation.
Sounds like nirvana to me, I must say.
It does.
Mm.
And the way to achieve that is to reach out to those employees on the devices they use most. Your manufacturing employees are not going to have desktops. They're on the move, so you need to reach them on their mobile devices. Your salespeople are on the road. You need to reach them maybe on their desktops or on their phones. You have people working at home. So it's important that you have these personal tools that reach those employees on those devices. And once you have that, you then get the ability to not only send information, but send out targeted information. Because now you know who they are, where they are, and the information that you send out can be targeted to the right audience, on that right device.
Yeah, I remember years ago, man, so there was that kind of BYOD debate, wasn't there? Bring your own device to try to help this along.
Absolutely. And then it's no longer a debate, I think. It's the reality.
Yes, exactly.
So with all that in place, it opens up a number of use cases, and we just highlighted a few of them here that I wanted to go through in a little bit of detail, just to give you an idea of the kinds of ways that things can be improved with once you have this overarching system. I mean, it always starts with inform, right? You want to just communicate corporate strategy, goals, changes to the organization, company news, news feeds. You want to be able to get that out to all employees, and just putting it up on a digital display in the hallway is no longer enough. So sending out that information on all those avenues that we've discussed is really the most effective way to make sure it reaches your whole audience and reaches them with relevant information that's relevant to them. So, for example, your deferred tax investment strategy may be different for your U.S. employees and your European employees and your Canadian employees. It's important that you have the targeted message for those employees, and these personal delivery mechanisms allow you to do that. A system like this would also allow you to broadcast town halls, so you could push out either a live town hall or on-demand content to those desktops and mobile devices. And if it's not a live event, employees can access and interact with those latest videos, when they have time. So basically, it's similar to the transition that television has gone, going from broadcast television to Netflix, right? You're going from pushing out content and people watching TV to them watching it on demand. So we have the same kind of thing with happening in the enterprise.
The American workplace, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of simply broadcasting a news channel on screens that people have no control over, you give them all that information on demand, so a la Netflix on their personal devices.
That's interesting, yeah. We've actually got Netflix coming on to present at our event on transformation in July, so that'll be interesting, yeah.
That's great. So engage, I mean, the presentation is about employee engagement, and certainly now, once you have these tools in place, you can do many things to help create team spirit, motivate the employees, especially remote teams, and you can do that by celebrating, great projects or new sales wins. You can highlight best practices or honor you know, lifelong years of service or other great behavior. You can create some, fun games and contests and other ways to engage those employees and keep them as active users within.
So you can use gamification. I think is quite an important part of engagement these days.
It is
Yeah.
actually. It really is. You find that anything you do like that tends to drive people to use those tools more and increase engagement, and hence it makes it easier for you to get your message across.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Promoting new products and services. Again, you often have a workforce that's underinformed about the latest products that the company has released or marketing campaigns. So you can use these tools again, send out this targeted information to the people that need to see it, whether it be internal marketing or sales promotions and or things that you want people to push, etc. All becomes possible with a communication mechanism like this. Ensuring compliance is more and more critical every day. You want to maintain awareness, push out a compliance video to targeted staff. And
there are more and more business sectors now that where compliance is critical to success, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Success and keeping the CEO out of jail. So it is.
For the time being.
Then we have also the ability to educate and train. So with these tools, you can invite employees to learn about new procedures, new ways of working, corporate training videos, and throughout all this, we haven't really talked about the analytics, but especially when you start sending out training videos or compliance videos, you want to be able to make sure that you can track who received it, how many people have watched it, did they watch it all the way through, etc. So all that becomes possible with a personalized communication mechanism like this. Surveys, learning. So, seeking your employees' opinion is probably one of the best ways to engage them, and so sending out polls that whether it's to capture new ideas or get their feedback on new policies or concerns is a very effective way to keep your employees engaged and make them feel important. So this is critical that it be part of a communication tool like this.
And as you say, it's very important to feedback on that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I think this is one of the most important use cases here. You can do all sorts of things to help engage employees where you're specifically just trying to engage them. But the best way, I think, is just to help them do their job better. Everyone wants to do a good job. And if this tool gives them access to information, whether it be KPIs or dashboards or a corporate news feed or a marketing news feed, if it gives them all that information and makes it available, at their fingertips and helps them do their job, that's where you're going to see the engagement go up. And now they're going to go to those tools and seek out more information because it's helping them do a better job.
Agreed.
And with that, of course, engaged employees that are doing a better job, making better decisions as a result of the data that you're providing them, it's inevitably going to drive improved results. Those KPIs and dashboards are keeping people focused on the right things, making sure that the parameters and the goals of the company are being met, and this should feed directly to the bottom line. And finally, for those unforeseen or unfortunate situations where you need to notify people of an alert or an emergency situation, once this tool is in place, and you have this pervasive communication mechanism, you're able to inform people at the right location if there's a weather alert. So again, not send it to everyone, but you're able to target that building or that city and have that important information get to people wherever they are. Right? It'll show up on their desktops, on their mobile phones, on the meeting room signs, on the screens in the meeting rooms, and on the video walls in the lobby, etc. So it just becomes pervasive. And as you're doing all this, it's important that we don't forget our friends in IT, because any tool like this needs to integrate well and sort of be friendly with that IT infrastructure. So it needs to connect to Active Directory or some other single sign-on system. Have a conduit to existing data in SharePoint and other internal mechanisms. So it needs to be a good corporate citizen to really to improve its adoption. It needs to fit into that IT infrastructure.
So should the IT people be involved in this right throughout the process from the start, or how should it work?
I think it's important that they're involved from the start, and that a system like that takes their needs into consideration as a system is implemented. I mean, really, the need for the system should be driven by the business side, but you can't leave the IT out of it. They need to make sure that it fits into.
Understood.
Okay. And finally, I want to just do a quick look back at the evolution of digital content and how it sort of led us to where we are today in terms of this engagement. I mean, if we think back initially, we were putting information up on digital displays, and basically that digital content initially was a view-only mode where people could just view, similar to the broadcast example in broadcast television. Simply view the content as you sent it to them. And then over the years that started to improve, and touch screens and what have you came in, and now you're allowing them to start interacting with that content. And once they started interacting with it, they were then able or wanted to start sharing that content with their colleagues and supervisors. And with sharing, the next step became collaboration. So now that you're able to interact and share, and you started to collaborate on that content. And as you go along this timeline, we found that employee engagement goes up in direct proportion. So as you go from view to interact to share to collaborate, employee engagement goes up and up and up. So
that 13% of that less than 1 in 7 of people who engage will using these tools would go in would head north, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. There's a direct relationship between the moving people from that left side to the right side and the level of employee engagement.
That's encouraging to know.
Yeah,
that's good. Okay, well, thanks, Mansour. Great presentation, lots of really good information there. Got some questions that have come through. I'll kick off with the first question for you, Mansour. Can viewership information be captured using these types of technologies, Mansour?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, not only can it be captured, I think it must be captured. Really, for a system like this to achieve its maximum efficiency, you need that information, that analytics, if you will, because it'll not only help you determine the viewership and what people are looking at, but it also helps you tailor that content based on what you've seen as being successful. So campaigns that are working well, you'll do more of, and campaigns that are falling flat, you can eliminate. So it's critical that you have that feedback loop in order to help improve.
See what's working, what's not working. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in some cases, like we talked about with compliance, it's sort of essential to know that people have seen those compliance or training videos.
Of course. Yeah. That's very, very important as well. Yeah. Okay, thanks for that, Mansur. Another question for you here. How would you suggest interacting with home workers? You did talk about home workers. In fact, I work from home a lot myself. I guess I could be classed as a home worker. How would you suggest interacting with home workers, Mansur?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is to, I think home workers tend to feel distant, and when they're even when they're in meetings or what have you, they're always sort of almost an afterthought. It's hard for them to really, with the existing tools today, it's hard for them to really feel like they're a big part of the meeting unless they're the ones actually presenting. So it's important that that the communication targets them in equal ways to people that are in the company. But it's also important that you allow them to collaborate and share and be part of the meeting and what have you in this same way. So we found.
Sorry, Mansur, carry on. Yeah.
Go ahead. We found, especially in meetings, where I'm sure we've all been on a meeting where we're the remote person and you've got this one speakerphone in the middle of the room. You're not always hearing everything very clearly, and it's hard for you to jump in and weigh in on the topic. So it's important that you go that extra step to make those home workers feel as if they're part of that meeting. And we're actually looking at we have a new collaboration room solution that makes those people feel like they're in the room and creates a one-to-one interaction between the remote participant and the in-room moderator or meeting participants, and that's all part of that engagement and making people feel like they're part of the decision and the discussion regardless of where they are.
Agreed. Yeah. As a home worker myself, I can see exactly where that's coming from. Completely agree with you, Mansur. Another question here. Got a question from this is from Phil O'Neill, Focal Media. Thanks for the question, Phil. He says, Mansur, traditionally, who is the key decision maker in an organisation who would be looking to talk about selling this solution into? Is it HR, marketing, IT? Who would be the decision maker?
Yeah. So the decision maker should be it's typically either HR, communications department, or hopefully it comes from the C-suite as well. When you have that sort of that realization that, hey, we've got all this information, we need these KPIs and dashboards to become a way of life for the company, and we need a way to disseminate that to everyone. I think for it to be effective, the decisions should come from high above, and to have that.
Yeah, it's very much a business critical issue, isn't it? We're talking about the whole performance of the business here, aren't we? Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. So it can't be IT pushing that. I mean, they can be the ones seeking it out, but the actual direction needs to come from the C-suite or the corporate communications.
Understood. Thanks for that question, Phil. Another question just come in to us. Right, we already have some very basic digital signage for staff communications. How could this be incorporated? Answer.
It's a good question because actually, this is a grandiose sort of vision of a communications platform, but it often does start with that simple, let's put up some channels on a screen on the wall. So that's often the beginnings of the desire to communicate with your employees. It always starts there, and then it usually leads from there to the bigger and better things. So that now that we've got those channels up, let's say you started out simply with a corporate news channel in your lobby or in some of the meeting areas or the cafeteria, and the next step might be, hey, let's take that same content and allow people to consume it from their desktop and let the remote people view it. So it's important that same content is still important and becomes part of this new global communication scheme.
This brave new world of global communications.
Right.
Thanks for that, Mansur. Another question for you, Mansur. What desktop OS and mobile OS can be used? Bit of a technical question there, but hopefully you can answer it.
Yeah. So the desktop application, typically would need to run on Windows and Mac OS. I think if it supports those two, it's critical for success. And those are the primary platforms on the desktop side. And on the mobile side, iOS and Android are supported and are of course critical to large-scale adoption. Unfortunately, for those few people with Windows devices or Blackberries, it's time for them to upgrade.
Fair enough, understood. But think twice before you get a Huawei. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We move on. Otherwise, there'll be another gel question coming up. Okay, Mensa, can you provide more information about creating visual channels in SharePoint? Another technical question, but hopefully one that you can fill. Yeah.
Yes. So I think that sort of is part of the being friendly to the existing IT infrastructure. I think there's an overwhelming percentage of companies that are using SharePoint for their intranet, and it's important that this system integrate with it, and it can do it in a couple of ways. One way is to pull data out of SharePoint, so using the information that's in SharePoint to drive the content within these information channels, whether it be lists of corporate news or visiting guests or whatever other information you've got in SharePoint. It's important that you can pull that out and include it in your information channels. And it's also interesting if you can take those information channels that you create, whether they be KPI dashboards or a corporate news channel, and embed them within the SharePoint site. So you can have this two-way stream where information is streaming out of SharePoint into your information channels, and you can also include your information channels in your SharePoint site. So that as people visit, for those few people that do visit the SharePoint site, they will also have access to the information channels that are now available.
Okay, that's good advice. Another question for you, Mensa. Is it possible to trial or test this technology? Important question, really.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. I think no one would ever adopt a system like this without having a trial period and then a proof of concept and then a sort of a gradual rollout. It's typically the way that takes place. And with our cloud infrastructure, it's very easy to stand up a sandbox to allow people to have an area where they can play with the system, experience what it's like, and then grow it from there to a proof of concept, and then once they're happy with that, move on to the next step.
Okay, thanks. Just going on from that, do you have an example of a customer who is doing this well, using technology in the best way?
Yeah, we have a few examples, and we have sort of usually the best examples are some of our global customers like Accenture, and we've got a John Deere and Lubrizol that are all sort of transitioning from the standard digital signage on a wall to a more pervasive communication scheme.
So you've got some great use cases and great customers who are using technology, who are making it work for themselves. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Always good to have that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So is there kind of one sort of golden nugget, one kind of golden piece of advice you would give to organisations who are listening to this webinar and thinking of introducing the technology, Mensa?
I think the best piece of advice I can give is, whatever system you choose, you want to make sure that it's going to be broad enough to support your needs for as a global organization, and not sort of tie yourself into sort of a dead end system that's only covering a portion of the needs, and and having that integrated system is really what makes it effective.
Yeah.
If you end up,
there's no point going half cock on it. You've got to really use it properly across the enterprise. Yeah. That makes absolute sense. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's really, I mean, fascinating stuff, man. It's a great presentation. The good news for our delegates today is that this presentation, this webinar will be available on demand for 6 months after today. So Mensa got through lots of information, answered lots of questions, so you won't miss anything. You can go back onto that now. I'm sure new people will join as well. We mentioned briefly Netflix during the presentation. Netflix are and you've got some events coming up from ourselves. Netflix are actually presenting at our Customer Engagement Transformation Conference in July, and of course we also have an internal communications conference coming up as well in September. And I'm sure many of the issues that Mensa has talked about today will be talked about then. Have you enjoyed presenting today, Mensa, from Montreal?
I have, actually. It's been great, and the system worked very well. And,
it's been great to have you on board. Thanks to yourselves. Thanks to X2o Media for making today's webinar possible. Thanks to all of our delegates for attending today. And I'm sure we'll be revisiting what is a business-critical subject in the near future. So thanks, everyone, for coming along today. And thanks, Mensa, again, for presenting.
Thank you, Steve, and thanks, everyone, for attending.
Thank you.